Okay, Simon on the sofa, here we are. Today I'm with a friend, very recent friend actually, Sam Kelly. Hello Sam.
Hello.
And Sam's doing a great thing, which is basically, well, you tell me Sam, what are you up to at the moment?
Well, I've been working in prison as a nurse for the last 18 months, and through my own journey in personal development and particularly entrepreneurship over the last 2 years, it was really notable to me the entrepreneurial characteristics of people in prison, and basically I sensed an untapped potential there that we weren't utilising to the betterment of our society. And I really feel that these people, once they've been inside and in the criminal cycle for many years, they really do want to start making a contribution, and particularly to leave a legacy to their children. They don't want to be remembered as, you know, dad who was inside for the majority of their life. They want to actually contribute to society and be remembered for something much more monumental than crime.
Yeah, and why I'm drawn to you, as you know, is that I've been in jail myself for a short time. In Reading Remand Centre. I don't know if you know that.
I don't know
if you've worked there.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I loved about what you're trying to achieve is that when you're a criminal, you're bracketed as a criminal.
Sure.
Yeah. So doesn't matter. Like I said a second ago, it's doesn't matter if you're a paedophile, a criminal, you know, a murderer, a burglar, or whatever, as we just said in the kitchen. So what's really interested me, and I think that one of the things that I'm working on, as you know, with the blog and so on, is that sharing that once you are a criminal, you're not always a criminal.
No.
Okay, and through, depending on your self-development and the options which you're trying to create for people, depending on the options you have, you can actually become who you want to become, a normal, I say normal, but just a good person, as it were. But you're not a bad person when you're a criminal as well.
No.
You know, and something you said to me when we spoke on the phone the other day, which was great, is that it's this labelling that happens. You know, you said you know that we always say, oh, the criminals. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have a level. Oh, is he a criminal? It's like a job description. It's like a business card, isn't it? Oh, damn, I've been a criminal. I did a couple of bad things in life. I met up with some wrong people. I was in a bad environment. You know, it's like people don't. And you can tell me if you believe this, but people, this happens in normal life. People don't often forget those labels. And a lot of the times is that, you know, that is one of the, and I don't know if you've had this first-hand experience, but that is one of the fears that a criminal has when he's trying to get out, when he first comes out of jail. Yeah.
Well, interesting you mentioned that. As you know, I've discovered a program being run in Texas in the States, and it's called the Prison Entrepreneurship Program. And I'm going to Texas in April because this is something I would like to model to gain an infrastructure here. And it's interesting, they say, if all of us had to write at the top of our CV the worst thing we'd ever done in our life, then, you know, how would we be judged when we go for that interview? You know, there are many of our society, not one of us can probably say we've never lied. You know, there's many adulterers, there's many thieves. And, you know, so basically, why do we need to expose the worst side of ourselves? That, you know, obviously you're not going to employ someone with a criminal record or with a past that doesn't sort of obviously pertain who you are now. You know, it's people need a second chance. We need to tap into what's possible.
What's possible. And also one of the things is acceptance, right? So one of the things that we don't have for ourselves, just as individuals, we find it very difficult to accept ourselves, and we have a lot of judgments, expectations and conditions on ourselves, as individuals. You and me, we've got them, you know, and everybody else does. So I think one of the hardest things is that you're then a criminal, so then you've now got this dogma, this stigma about being a criminal, you know, and that then becomes your, even if there is people out there that wouldn't judge you, that becomes your big judgment, because you're like, you know, I've been to jail, I've killed somebody, or I've, you know, raped somebody, or, you know, whatever else it is, I've stolen from people. So all of a sudden that becomes, let alone the individual ones we have, the individual personal battles we have, that's like a massive bolt-on, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, so then you come into society and there's complete, it's almost like you walk around, and as soon as you walk around, it's just that people have just honed in on you. Yep, they've judged me instantly. But it's also bringing it back to the actual offender. It's how we can break them down to forgive, because until they forgive themselves and until they understand what they've done and why they've done it, nobody else is going to forgive them anyway, are they?
No, I get what you're saying.
Do you see what I mean? So, and I'm talking from personal experience, you know.
Sure.
Is because, you know, when you talk about CVs and stuff, that's a great example. But also what happens is that I just didn't tell anybody. You just, you know, just wouldn't lie. No, you know, even when I lost my license for drink driving, you know, even when people, they go, oh, have you any criminal offences in the last 5 years or 6 years, you just don't bother telling them.
No.
Because, well, you know, the point is you then become a liar. Because now you're a liar, okay? Because you've been asked a question to get a job, you know you can do that job, or whatever the job is needed, you know that you can do it easily, you know at your core you're honest, and you're trying to do good, and you're trying to break the habits and patterns of the old, and you really want to do well, and then you get these questions, and it's like, you know, and you're like, what do I do now? If I tell them, then they're going to judge me. If I say that I've lost my license for drink driving, they're going to think that, you know, I can't, you know, you see what I mean? Or if I say that I've stolen and burgled houses, then they're going to judge me on that. And if I say that I've sold marijuana or drugs to people, you know, they're going to just think that I'm going to start selling drugs in the workplace, or, you know, and so on and so forth. So how do you feel? What's one of the ways that we can break through, I suppose, to because I think it's about the individual. If you can allow the individual to know that these judgment, expectations and conditions are self-created a lot of the time as well.
Yes,
they're definitely out there, but they are controlled. And I don't know if you feel strongly about this like I do, but they are also controlled by us, the individual. And that if there was some way of having, which I know that you're trying to create as well, some way of having a platform. So when people come out of jail, they have this like almost level ground.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but how do we create that? Because there's nothing out there like that.
No, from what I hear from the guys, I mean, they go out back into the community. Most of them go to hostels or accommodation where they're surrounded by other past ex-cons. And, you know, a lot of the guys are not ready to make the transformation in their life. So they're back into their old ways, their old habits. And of course, you're lured into that when it's within your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of guys go out and prison's a revolving door. They're back in within 2 years at the outset, you know, because there's nothing for them out there to support that transition. So like this program I've discovered, they very much set it up so when you leave prison there is accommodation for you, and there is employment for you, so you can start earning straight away to make a contribution to your lifestyle and, you know, to your family that are outside waiting for you. So there's, you know, you're restructuring a supportive network with people that do believe in you, and mentorship is a great part of that. I don't see that people leaving prison have, you know, they inside prison, you don't trust anyone, you don't trust each other. There's certainly a camaraderie, a brotherhood, but you know, the trust isn't deep, it's very superficial. And so to actually expose who you are and your feelings and everything that you need to overcome to find that forgiveness, you need a friend and you need a mentor. And I certainly don't feel or sense that they can find that in probation, unfortunately. Maybe it's the pressures of time, they're limited or what have you, but I just sense that what the guys tell me is that they have nobody outside that they can bare their soul to. And you know, you need to provide a blank canvas from which to recreate an identity or a life. You need to be able to shed, like we've talked about, layers, and there seems to be a lack there. And also that's a really and that's not an easy thing to do. No, for any of us. For any of us. How is that platform, how can we keep that platform involved, which is to a lot of people a bit wishy-washy, right? But also bringing in the
entrepreneurial business, opening up a new,
yeah,
you know.
Well, I mean, to be an entrepreneur, you're basically encountering new territory, so to speak, and you need certain characteristics like risk taking and you know, basically to go all out. And obviously these guys have a lot of those characteristics, but the vehicle they've used has been a negative one.
Yeah.
And I think if we can access the talent and the skills and the passion and actually align it to something that would be contributing, then I think you're on to a winner.
Yeah.
You know, it's a no-brainer. And what I love about the guys I work with, they're very observant of people. They know me sometimes better than I know myself.
Interesting.
I go in and I feel that I'm always constant in my mood and my manner and happy-go-lucky. Sometimes I lose it, and you know, they get that part of me now. You know, it takes me aback to think that these guys are so observant. They've noticed some subtle difference in me that I haven't even seen in myself. Until they point it out. And you know, I think that you know, because of certain characteristics of being observant of people and noticing emotional differences as well, is
and tapping into energy. They're tapping into energy, you know, and again, if you want to link that to energy healing, if you can tap into energy and you observe people's energy, you're looking into their aura. If you're tapping into their aura, which is our energy field around us, then you're tapping into, you know, the what you can't see, the unmanifested. So do you know what I mean? So already you've got these people that everybody a lot of the times just gives up on, that are just, we're all the same. This is my point. And also just another thing to add to risk takers, you know, people that got nothing to lose and so on, that come out. You think a lot of successful people, if you know, in entrepreneurship and so on, and a lot of successful people in a lot of arts, whether it be music, film, entertainment, whatever, a lot of them have been criminals, right?
Yeah,
a lot of them are criminals, but a lot of the times crime in general is glorified on most films and entertainment. But in reality, it's not glorified.
No.
In reality, and I'm not saying that every criminal, you know, yeah, great, you've killed somebody, let's come out, let's all shake your hands and give him a film role. He's obviously a great person. But the point is that it's breaking the judgmental, conditioned belief systems that we're all in, that just judge every criminal as the same, and also judging that if you've done a crime, you can't exist in this society, or and one of the things I was going to say to you is, so from your experience, do you see this level of connection or this level of love or this I know you see love in everybody, but you know, in with relation to who you've met, do you see this? Do you think honestly, this level of communication, this level of delving into somebody's true self and allowing them through deep communication to open up to themselves is possible with everybody so far that you've met in jail? I
would say everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, you know,
at different levels.
Yeah. Like I seek a deeper meaning for my life that's based in spirituality. To me, that gives you the meaning to life, you know, and it's based on love and it's based on connection. And a lot of our society has worn that down, so we've lost that. But I feel that, you know, a lot of the people I work with in prison have obviously been victims themselves once, and it's the trauma of that emotional state that often leads them on the wrong path because they don't know how to deal with those emotions. They have no role models to show them, so they often end up suppressing their emotional pain with drugs or alcohol, and basically any activity that's going to suppress what they have to deal with, and they don't know how to deal with it. And you know, I think it's, you know, it takes a certain sort of space, you know, to allow the pain to surface, and what I've witnessed is that pain needs acknowledgement. Often I don't have time to go into the deeper places, but I found it when I worked in the women's prison. They said, could I write it for you, Sam? Can you just read it? And it's sometimes they can't verbalize that pain, but to have someone witness what they've been through, acknowledge it, you know, is part of that healing journey. And sharing.
Yeah. So the fact that they can share their pain first and foremost, because regardless of, it's a great step to get them to come out and become an entrepreneur or business person or whatever, and be, you know, a credit to society, for example. But prior to that, there's this gap, isn't there? There's this void, and I think this is what you want to tap into as well.
Yeah.
I know you want to do the full lot and take them through the process and not just drop them off halfway through. But the point is that this void, which, again, strip away the whole of society, jobs and everything, this void everybody has.
Yes.
Me and you.
Yeah.
I had it, you've had it, everybody I know's had it,
yeah.
and so on. And that void is exactly what you're saying. Having a space and the ability to share that vulnerability, share your pain, share the insecurity, the anxiety, the fears, the anger, you know, the aggression, the built-in belief systems and patterns from childhood, from your parents and so on. And like really allowing them to understand, why do I think like this? Why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
You know, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know from my own experience that going through my past, i.e. my mum's relationships, my relationship with, or my lack of relationship with my father, my relationship with my stepfather, going through the path of why I was in an area that I was in, that I hung around with criminals, why I started to smoke marijuana, why did I start to smoke marijuana, what did that lead to, what choices did that take me on, and then why did I start criminal activities. You know, I started doing crime because you needed money.
Yes.
And not that you needed money just to live, but you needed money to be somebody.
Yeah.
So money was a big factor for me, and I know it was for a lot of people that I hung around with. And the point is that the person who had the nicer clothes, the more money in their back pocket, the car, was doing better in life.
Sure.
So it was about betterment. Yeah. So, you know, the act of crime was serving a purpose that progressed me in life.
Yes.
So at the time, the crime was it was life. It was enjoyable. It was part of life. It was what I wanted to do, and it's all I knew I could do at that time to get the money.
Yeah.
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 So another thing is sharing with criminals that's one way of living.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's also other ways of living, and people don't know they can delve into those feelings.
Sure.
And they also don't know, and I didn't know, that until you delve into those past feelings, until you understand you and why you do what you do and why you're where you are, so when you end up in jail, you start asking questions.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Why am I in jail?
Yeah.
You know? Nobody's here. The people I'm hanging out with are not here right now.
Yeah.
I'm here alone with new people around. Why am I here? You know? Do I like it here?
Yeah.
You know, is this where I would like to stay, and so on. And I think that, you know, that's something, I'm sure, I know you agree, but that's something that's the gap between, isn't it?
Yes.
Because until we go into that area, until the individual goes into that area, would you agree that you can't get to this area?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It starts with self-awareness, and you know, I ask people who they are, and they don't know. And you know, I often say, well, you know, people in prison that I work with, I ask them, do you love yourself? And often the general response is, no, I hate myself. And I'm saying, well, you know, have you ever felt love? And no, but they're desperately seeking this love. They don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And often it starts, like we've mentioned, with acceptance. So I ask them, well, what's good about them? And they never, most of them in the beginning, see no good about themselves. So I set them on little tasks and say, well, do you see good in others? And they say, well, of course I do. And I'm like, well, what? Like what? Well, you know, you're kind and generous. And I say, well, do me a favor, just start writing down a small list of the good things you see in other people. And then when we meet again, I look at their list and say, well, that's great, you're an amazing person.
Yeah.
And they're, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, you hear it takes one to know one. And have you ever considered what that means? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, why would you recognize those qualities in another if they weren't on some level within you?
Of course.
And that often brings tears to their eyes, because for the first time, they are starting to have access to see who they really are and the good within them that they can then be to other people.
Yeah, and the realization that just that realization of realizing that you can't see, you see in others what you don't see in yourself.
Yeah.
And it works both ways, right?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
often we complain at others and we go, oh, look at him, he eats too much or he never exercises. And very normally, you look back at the person saying it and you're like, well, you don't exercise and you eat too much,
Sure.
And it's the same if you go, that person's great and loving and I really see how caring and beautiful it is. Well, a lot of the times that's because you're doing those things.
Yes, yeah.
You can't see something if it's not in you.
No.
Yeah? That's the point. I totally agree with that. So what made you, how did you start to tap into that, and what made you then think, I want to do this on a mass scale? Or,
well, like most people, when it came to the point of I was offered to work in prison, I really did not want to go. I really got attuned to my own judgment of people, and because there was nothing else available, I said, okay, I'll give it a go. And I have to say I disliked it intensely for the first 2 weeks. It was a very loud environment. Everybody was bolshy and trying to prove themselves.
Big ego.
Oh, huge egos. And I thought, what am I doing here? This is certainly not the environment I want to be in. And then I remember it really hit me when I was speaking to a young girl. She was 15, 16, and she was in for murder of her abuser. And I remember we were talking about her experience, and when I stared into her eyes and I saw myself for the first time as a murderer, and I suddenly kind of grasped that we are all the same, essentially, and depending upon our life experience will determine our reactions and our life path. And I just started getting it. And then when I spoke to these women, and as I speak to the guys, a lot of them come in with panic attacks, depression, suicidal feelings. And, I started sharing Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, because it always struck me at the beginning of that book that he said he was lying in bed and he was saying repeatedly, I cannot live with myself. I cannot live with myself. And, often the women would cry at that because that's exactly where they're at. And then I said, but he questioned the duality of the statement, who is the I that cannot live with myself? And they would be curious to that statement. And when we explored that the I is the essence essentially of who we all are, that is what we have in the same. Yeah. But the myself is purely the identity that we create through our life experience. Yeah. But that can be changed. And, for the first time, it gives people hope to open up to that. Yeah. And then then we get into these exercises, go off, tell me what good you see in other people. Yeah. I say to them, write me a list, like Jack Canfield says, of 30 things you want to do, be and have. Yeah. Well, they come back with about 3 things on each list. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, we've got some work to do here. And I just try and explode the limits
exactly.
that all of us live by. The prison of our mind is more of a prison than the environment that we're in,
Definitely. And it's amazing. It's just amazing how you can open the mind of somebody else, and this is exactly what's happened to me, and and what I want to share with others. And exactly what you're doing is that when people have that glimmer of hope, if you want to call it hope, or they have that realization that is exactly it, that they are that we are totally in control of our reality. That is the key thing here. And I think the key thing to share with anybody, this is not just about people that have committed crime, this is about all of us.
Yes.
Is that we are in control of our reality. We take full responsibility. We don't, but you should take full responsibility of who we are, what we're doing, and how we're living. Because even if you're not aware of that, you're doing it anyway. Yeah. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
So the key thing is that same again. When I was in jail, and when I was a criminal, and when I was causing harm to people, is I was in control of that.
Yes.
There was at no point that anybody was forcing me. Nobody was forcing me ever. You know, and that's the thing. And at times I was doing it because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a life that I didn't, as again, I repeat again, I didn't know any different at that time. But I obviously knew there was different life because I knew that every single person wasn't a criminal.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't oblivious to the fact that my mum wasn't a criminal, or, you know, however many other people I knew were not criminals. Many people I knew had jobs.
Yes,
many people I knew had children. Many people I knew that I associated with had normal lives, if you want to call it normal lives, you know.
Yeah.
So you're totally in control. You can't turn around and go, no, it's society, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just society, you know, makes me do it. You know, I've got no money. You know, well, nobody's got no money. You know, 5% of the population own 95% of the wealth. So nobody's got money. The monetary system's never going to give everybody money. So you can't use that. You know, you can't tarnish that brush. So I think that's another area that, you know, once they wake up to the self, like you say, wake up to the realization that actually, you know, I'm not my actions, you know, I can change that, I'm in control of that. And, you know, I have the ability to be who I really am.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. Where are you up to at the moment? What's the plan? You know, I know you said you're going to Texas. You're going to go to Texas to this penitentiary.
Absolutely.
And they've got a system similar to what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
In action.
Yeah.
And has been since 2004?
2004, an incredible woman called Catherine Rower happened to be in the Texas penitentiary, and she was a CEO of a company and earning a 7-figure salary, and basically she saw potential in entrepreneurship in prison, and she had a call. Like, sometimes I think within us all we find a call or a passion that draws us and we cannot leave alone. She found herself being drawn back, and she just had a vision of how life could be. I think herself, you know, in addition to me, we have a concern for society, and it's not that everybody inside prison is willing to change and transform.
Yeah, some just don't want to.
No, I want to be clear that there is a place for some members of our society to be in prison for the protection of society above all else. But what I see is that there are a percentage of people out there who, having been caught often in the criminal career mode, they're ready for transformation. They're sick and tired of, you know, that life,
that mold,
and they want something. And this program that they've developed, the Prison Entrepreneurship Program, allows them to build on a possible business idea through creating of a business plan. And they have CEOs from different companies and MBA students come to mentor them. But alongside that, I have to stress that there is a life skill program in which allows them to discover, you know, who they are in terms of self-awareness, understanding, looking at relationships and why their relationships have broken down, what they can do to restore that faith from their families and build those trust relationships again.
Yeah.
So they offer accommodation on leaving and mentorship for them to go into employment. There are 5 among the people that have gone through the program now earning in excess of £100,000 a year. So, you know,
they five people come straight out, went into the program, started doing the whole self-development thing, and now they're earning
a good wage.
Yeah, a lot more than me and you.
A lot more than me and you, exactly. So, it's a proven model, and you know, before I get too far down the road, because I'm obviously in research and planning phase, then I'd like to sort of use a model that's already a proven concept. There will obviously be some cultural differences that I would maybe need to address, bringing something like that on such a large scale to the UK, but it will also determine where I start and which pilot sector I sort of use. Yeah,
and also it's just taking a little bit of what you think might work for you as well, isn't it?
Sure, yeah.
Because you know, another thing I think with the whole self-development and allowing people to find their true selves is exactly that, allowing the individual to find out who they really are. So if for example you allow them to find out who they really are, and they don't want to work necessarily in a business or anything, you know, they might, whatever it is that might come with that. Do you remember we spoke about that before?
Sure.
Is whatever that might come out of that, you want to be able to also give them that ability. Because for example, Jamie Oliver, we did mention this before, we love Jamie Oliver and he does great things, but it's very much, okay, you come out of jail, we're going to get you a job. Now you're going to be a chef. You're interested in chef, let's get you into chef and give you a job. Once you've got a job, if you're earning good money and you can pay your bills, then you're a good person. But that's not actually the level of self-development that we're talking about here, is it? Because just coming out of jail, just getting a job and then being able to pay your bills doesn't mean that you're free from fear.
No.
It doesn't mean that you're actually free from anxiety.
No.
Do you see what I mean? It doesn't mean that you've actually freed those negativities, and it definitely doesn't mean that you're actually a peaceful person and maybe vibrating from that place of love, does it?
No.
You know, okay, you can cut some tomatoes and carrots, you know, you can make a good soup, right? You know, and making a good soup rather than burgling somebody's car, stereo and so on is definitely better. But the reason why it makes me laugh is because, and I'm not in any way putting down what Jamie Oliver's done and so on, because I honestly, any positivity is good positivity.
Sure, yeah.
But part of what I'm talking about and what I'm experiencing is that it's about still getting the individual to that place of inner peace.
Yes.
You know, and love vibration, love resonance in the heart, not the head.
Yes.
You know, and then from that foundation, everything they create is coming from that place of positivity, joy, love, compassion, helping, sharing. You know, not just on their family, but on the family, the town, the society, the universe, and so on. Do you see what I mean? I mean, I know let's start with the base, obviously, with the individual and finding them some stability in their, you know, their family, with their children and so on. But know that each individual has the power to do is that to be that new vibration, you know, that's not very not very well known in this reality, but it is out there. But it's like it's allowing even the most negative person or the most painful person the light to know that they can vibrate from that place. There's no such thing as serious crime or not crime. Crime comes from the same base.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the two. What we're talking here is a base of love, base of positivity, a base of pain, base of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
From this base of pain and fear, depending on your upbringing, depending on your experiences, you commit pain and fear and suffering. Some do it with a gun, some do it with a knife, some do it with their fists, some do it with, you know, taking things. Yeah. Whatever other list. From the base of love and joy and acceptance and forgiveness and positivity, you can only create positivity. Sure. Do you see, you know? Yeah. And that, is that, you would agree that's the midsection to the entrepreneur work, right?
Yeah. Have you heard of Darren Eden?
No.
Did I tell you he's an amazing guy, and he's basically got a series of courses based on the intuitive entrepreneur. And I love how he describes there are 4 ways of relating, and you know, most of the time we're caught up in conditions and programming from the past of one of the first 3. One is a codependent mode where our energies are intermingled, and it's based on an I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough kind of place of being, and so we basically are drawing a lot from the other person we are with. And you know, he likens it to organizations, and charities would come under this mode because they're codependent on others for their survival. And then there's an aloof mode, which is my predominant mode of being, where you're kind of distant, and it's all about not being trusting of others. Yeah, I know, believe it or not, in certain situations, but I don't the commitment thing, because you don't trust another person to meet your needs, and there's a kind of a control issue there.
You step back at that
point.
So
there's more a step back kind of thing, and you know, in an organizational term, you could say the banks operate that way, multinationals, or you know, the mobile phone companies. You can never get hold of someone to speak to personally. You know, it taps into that, and you often find an aloof person with a codependent, because that's, you draw the opposite. You know, because you know, the codependent doesn't want to distance, and you know, vice versa. We draw that. I certainly noticed this in my intimate relationships. But then the third way of being is like a dominant submissive mode, and often we come from a codependent or an aloof mode, and normally it's the codependent that becomes dominant because of their powerlessness, you know, in any given situation. They will become authoritarian to dominate, and it's often the aloof person that becomes submissive, or you know, because they are very capable, but you know, they give up that capability. And this is how we all communicate, like, you know, in the dominant submissive, I mean, HMP service, the prison service, a classic. It's a dominant submissive situation. But there is one other way of being, and it's called a synergistic infinity mode, and it's where your energies are almost touching, and you know, you work very well individually, but together you shine more brightly.
You elevate. And
you elevate. And this is, and it's so amazing, because working in prison, I've never felt that mode of being more prevalent than I have working in prison.
Yeah, interesting.
And it shocked me, and I think, wow, how do I get to that place so quickly with people who don't even know who they are? And it truly is. It's because they're not analytically intelligent, but they resonate with truth. And when we verbalize spirituality or deeper meaning, and they resonate on that truth, it creates the synergistic bond that allows that opening for trust and for self-expression. And it, to me, it just breathes possibility and opportunity. And I think that's one thing that really draws me. And you know,
because you felt that. You felt that pull. That's the pull, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've actually had first-hand experience of that energy.
I feel it, and I truly have not felt so much love in my life as I do now, because I see the possibility and I share what I see, and it's reflected back at me, you know, that love tenfold.
Totally.
It's just incredible.
And it's, you know, so many people say, and so many people that I've read say that, you know, giving and sharing is it. It is the, you know, giving yourself, being a service to others, and really sharing with people is the maximum beautiful feeling in life that one can appreciate. You know, it's just a lady said to me last week that when she actually let go and actually give herself fully to her mother was very ill. And she gave herself unconditionally to her mother, just to look after her and so on. She said it was the happiest time of her life.
Wow.
Because she what happened, there was no coming back to the expectations, conditions, judgments. There was no little me. There was no, what about me? What am I getting from this? Who, you know, who's going to be people patting me on the back, telling me I'm a great carer, or you know, there's none of this exterior need and desire for gratification. But it was just all about giving from a place of that beautiful place, place of love. It was just a freeness. The love that you're feeling at the moment through these experiences you're having. Do you believe that's a love that we can all individually find? Do you believe that that unconditional love is available to us all? Or do we all have to do, you know, for example, I know I speak to some people, sometimes just to give you an example, and this is just a personal question to you, is that I speak sometimes to people about unconditional love, and sometimes they don't get it, they don't understand it, they've not experienced it, they've not felt it for themselves. Because the old saying is, until you love yourself, you can't love another. You've probably heard that 100 times. And one person said to me that the only time that she'd experienced unconditional love was the birth of her child.
Wow.
So a lot of people experience at that point of birth, at that point of creation, when people have children, they experience unconditional love, and a lot of parents will agree with this and say, yes, unconditional love is experienced at that point of having a child. But then what happens in a lot of parents is that once that child starts needing more and so on, and then it starts to get its own identity depending on the conditions and the beliefs that we put onto it, that love goes. So what happens is the mother then wants another child to try and reconnect, because she hasn't actually connected to herself. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just interesting to hear you say it. So to feel that love, you've connected yourself as well.
Yes.
Would you agree to that that base, that that pureness, that
yeah,
essence?
I'd say I have. It isn't there all the time. So obviously we are so programmed and conditioned, and as much as I love to be in that synergistic mode, obviously there are triggers every day that pull you back to codependence, aloof, dominant, submissive. So we're all like just battling through this relatedness, but I think it's the awareness of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get there in terms of a society because of the fear and the judgment. I mean, what was very prevalent to me, one of the guys asked me to go to the carol service at the prison because he was giving a testimony for giving his life to Christ, and he was anxious and he wanted someone to support him. So, you know, I asked my manager, we all went along. And what was very interesting to me, you know, I honed in on him, sat with him, supported him. All the guys were coming in, high-fiving, how's it going? Sat down. Halfway through the service, I looked round, and it was what was so apparent to me. All the Salvation Army, all the reverends and the priests that had come for the service were all sat on the left-hand side. All the employers, the employers and employees of the prison system were all stood at the back. And then I suddenly became very consciously aware that I was, for that bang, sat right in the middle of all the offenders, thinking, you know, no wonder reintegration doesn't work.
Exactly.
Because as long as we are so separate, it's never going to happen.
Exactly.
And how you
bring that,
how you bridge it.
Because how we bridged it, and we said earlier, didn't we, is that bridging it, you think of how many millions of people are out there with their own beliefs, their own experiences, their own, you know, that have got so, and it is a habitual conditioning, but have got so engraved in that conditioning that it's the norm. So to all of a sudden bridge it, I mean, you know, you can use racism as a great example here, you know, and how many years, how many hundreds of thousands of years has that gone on, and still goes on, you know, and it's still out there, hopefully a lot less than it ever has been, but it's still out there, right? You know, it's still there. Do you think that, you know, the fact that you're sat in amongst those of it, do you think that can change? Do you think it will change? Do you think it is changing at all? Or do you just don't feel it? Do you just feel that there's just a very much, especially in the jails, a very much, you know, you and us.
Yes.
And that's it. You've done bad, we're going to make you do good, or we're going to at least stop you from doing bad for the time being, but in the meantime, we think you're scum.
Well, it would appear that that's the general consensus. I don't believe that is who those people are. I mean, I worked within the NHS for many years, and I've become so cynical through the suppression of the establishment and the system that, you know, I'm no longer conducive to that environment. And I feel that that is often what's happened to a lot of officers that I talk with. They're very much of the opinion, lock them in, throw away the key, bring back hanging, bring back the electric chair. I don't for 1 minute believe that's truly who they are. I believe they've been trapped within a system and establishment for so long, like myself within the NHS. Cynicism builds up, and they're so detached now, you know, and they foresee themselves there as, you know, protectors of society. And, you know, they've lost sight of the possibility of rehabilitation, and, you know, and it's sad and it's frustrating to be working in an environment where people aren't coming, you know, tapping into their humanity. I think they've lost that. A lot of people have. Yeah,
definitely. Well, that's a really interesting point to bring up, because I wrote something just recently, and it's about that. It's about how the normal individual, we as individuals, because of the society we live in, and I'm not pointing the finger or blaming society, but because of the structure of society as we know.
Sure.
And again, you may feel this sometimes, is that reading a book, connecting to the source, reading some positivity, a poem, something beautiful, pampering yourself, doing something good, spending some nice time with people that you love, doing nothing, just being. It's almost like nobody does it. Nobody has time for it. So to even open people's mind to a lot of what we're talking about today, there's a lot of action that has to take place in order to open your mind to that. Would you agree? There's a lot of action and change of engraved conditions and conditional habits that have to change. Do you see what I mean? Because until you you know, action some of that positivity and so on, then you're not even in a position to, you know, to open your mind to that these these people can be good or do good or be positive. You're not even vibrating positivity. To be in the NHS and think that, you know, we can, it's almost like it's become blocked.
Yes, yeah.
It's not there, is it?
No.
It doesn't exist. So do you see what I mean? So I think that's why I love what you're doing so much. Is it's people like yourself with starting new, planting new systems.
Yes.
You know, and having to do it whilst working, and having to do it with no funding. So if you've got any money, we need funding, and having to do it again, because tell me if I'm wrong here, but if we're trying to do something that's really positive, a lot of the times, and I'm not saying that there's no positive corporations out there, no positivity in this society or anything like that, that's not what I'm saying. But if we're trying to do something like this project that you're doing, right? Yeah. You're also going against the wind, on so many levels. It's like, I can use a better example. It's like the world was flat, now it's round. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. So we have to, I suppose, live in hope that we keep saying, actually, no, there's the world is round, love exists, you know, joy exists, positivity exists, with no fear, with no anxiety. You know, you can really live to your full potential, have a beautiful life. It exists, but at the moment, nobody believes it. No. No. Yeah? Yeah. At the moment, the world is flat. Do you see what I mean? In that,
I get that. Yeah. I don't think we're far off, though. I mean,
good.
It brings me hope when I kind of have lost attachment to the changes that I want to see ever happening in my lifetime, because India, for example, have a 500-year peace plan, you know? Yeah. So I get that, that it takes time. Yeah. However, I do feel the paradigms of today's society are in demise. You know, all these bureaucratic structures, the NHS, one of them, the prison system, the education system, the financial systems already in demise. And what brings me to that conclusion, I studied with Dr. Rosie Daniel, an alternative holistic doctor, very much working with cancer patients. Now, cancer inflicts out of 3 of us at the moment, and statistics show that that's set to double over the next decade, 10 years. But people are living with cancer now, they're living longer, which means that the whole financial budget of the NHS will need to fund cancer alone. It's unsustainable. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. And likewise with the prison system, you know, currently the prison population stands at about 84,500, with an estimated 6 million criminals on the street. They're building bigger and bigger titans, you know, structures, and you get a 5-year sentence, you're out in 2.5 years, because it's the only way they can manage. Yeah, as the cycle. And that doesn't work. Doesn't work. So these constructs are all in demise.
And people must be able to see that now.
But there's nothing to revolutionise or take over from what we have. I mean, it's like the education system. You know, the corporations have been at the crux of power for so long, but no longer. You know, it's entrepreneurs are the up and coming wave of, you know, definitely societal leadership. And you know, I believe that that's going to change, you know, immensely in the next 10 years as there's more and more entrepreneurial pathways opening up. The education system no longer is sufficient to actually embrace that.
But these systems that everybody relies on and have got all their hope and you know, all their expectation on, it just are not functional. You know, they just do not work. And I think that that's something that definitely I've noticed, especially with the monetary system, especially with the educational system and the health system, and even the police system, and and even the, you know, all of it, you know, the fire brigade. It's almost like it's like the monetary system. What a lot of people don't understand is that it's not designed to serve everybody. No. And this is the same with the prison system. So the point is until you come from a different mindset, a different consciousness, and attack it with a new vision, new ways, completely new ways. You know, abolishing the old way and coming in with a completely new way, which is what the revolutionary idea, which is even what you're talking about here. Is that until people like yourself and other entrepreneurs that really want to give back to and create a new society that is sustainable for us all.
Yes.
You know, it can only get worse.
Yes,
yeah, because and it will get worse, and it's almost like in one level it has to get worse to wake more people up.
Sure.
You know, it has to fall apart. Because take cancer for example, and I know I've watched a number of documentaries, and I've researched a lot of information about cancer. Right?
Yes,
and one of my friends that I just worked on a film with has now become a friend of mine. She was doing the costume department, and her friend overcome cancer through the Ayurveda, you know, the Ayurveda healing, which is all about herbs and diet. Okay, and she basically was told that if she has chemotherapy or radiotherapy, you know, she's pretty much got like weeks to live. So she decided to go no radiotherapy, no chemotherapy, and said no. And the doctor said, well, you're crazy, you know, if you don't, you need to be treated. But she goes, well, okay, what's the outcome? If I treated, I'm dying. So if I don't get treated, I'm dying. Is that what you're saying? So they're like, yeah. So she was the bravest woman that I've heard of, and actually could touch somebody who was very close to her, you know. So this isn't about reading it on the blog or reading it on the internet. This is somebody that I know firsthand. She shared with me about her friend, close friend. And she's now got no cancer in her body. So that holistic dietary treatment worked. Okay. You've got an amazing documentary called The Beautiful Truth, called the Gershon therapy. I don't know if you've heard of this.
I've heard of. Oh, I know the Gershon therapy.
Yeah, you know the Gershon therapy, right? So it's all about juicing, and it's about coffee enemas, and it's about basically stripping away all the crap that we eat every day, all these chemicals that are in the water, and coming back to the core raw foods, raw juices, and flushing out the intestine, and basically reprogramming the immunity.
Our immunity,
our immunity. So, and it worked. Now this documentary is so amazing because what happened is that he was poisoned twice,
right?
And it didn't work, obviously, because they tried it a second time. But basically, his family still lives on with that Gershon treatment. They've got reports of people that have said it healed them. There's now a clinic in somewhere in America that is basically you know, just only does the Gershon therapy,
right?
And it's curing cancer. Okay. You've then got a guy we mentioned to you earlier called Jim Humble. Jim Humble has a cure for malaria. He's been curing mild strains of cancer. He's been curing AIDS, residing the effects, because it's killing the pathogens in the body, which is allowing the immunity to build up and strengthen, which is fighting off the disease. You've got another guy. There's another two guys. I don't know their exact names. One Frenchman and another who's found a cure for cancer, and has come up now that it's a fungus in our body. And that fungus, I don't know if you've heard this, but basically that fungus is like any fungus, is growing, continue growing. If you deal with the immune system in order to fight off that fungus, you can cure cancer. So even having that knowledge and that's just me, one person who's got 5 avenues of people that have been curing cancer. Okay, researched, read, and it's out there. So if you've got that happening, none of that will go mainstream, because nobody wants to find a cure for cancer. So not any of that will go mainstream. And even the people that got it is, again, it's the world is flat, the world is round, is that's not coming through enough at the moment. So can't people see that for a sustainable society, then using these remedies more and more and more, these holistic remedies more and more, is what's needed. That is the new way. Do you see what I mean? It's not about finances. It's not about financial gain. It's not about you know, the individual profit and so on. It's about how can we as a community, as a species, you know, help our species. How can, you know, and that is, you know, for me, that is that. I mean, I'm just using it as an example to show how a system, a health organisation, seems to block away the things that can really make a difference. And that's like you said, and you're experiencing that in the prisons. That's happening in the health, that's happening in the monetary system, and so on. You know,
absolutely.
So it's crazy.
Well, it's, you know, what I love the quote by Albert Einstein that says a problem cannot be solved by the same consciousness that created it, and that's what we're stuck in at the moment. You know, the paradigms, they're old paradigms that need change, and we're stuck in this sort of fear of change, fear you know, and it's greed based, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's, you know, the people that have been, you know, monumental or status privileged within our society, the doctors, the lawyers and such, you know, it's their grip on society that are preventing a lot of this change, you know. And there, among them though, among those groups, there are people with vision that see the future, and you know, it has to happen at some point.
Yeah, whether it happens, whether it happens smoothly, as a okay, let's say goodbye to this one, but let's slowly implement this one, and let's slowly get rid of it. Yeah, that's the ideal.
Sure.
But in its potential, it's potentially got crash. This has to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, basically.
But sort of increments of implementation would be better, because then it's going to serve everybody. Because the people that are sort of doctors by the allopathic system will still have their place until they're in retirement or what have you. Because you know, not all members of society are going to grab onto this.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, if we can incremental in waves sort of change.
And I think that's happening.
Yeah, I believe it is.
I really do. Yeah. You know, I live. I'm ever the optimist. You know, I live optimistically, and I do believe that's happening. And I hope that, you know, part of what we're both doing as well as individuals is helping that, is aiding towards that.
Yes.
So just to sort of wrap up, because it's been a really beautiful talk, is I think, and I know I've told you this already probably 100 times, but I tell you now as well, is I think you're doing an amazing thing.
Thank you.
You know, I really, really do. And you know, at this point, other than really being a support to you as a friend, you know, there's maybe not much I could do. If I had the money, I'd give you the money to start up the, to start up the. It's easy to say when I've not got it. I'll be like, not really. No, I've got some here, but I don't want to share. No, but seriously, I would love to support something like this, because I think that, and I am supporting it the best I can at this point in time, is that I think it's got great potential.
Yes.
You know, and I think it's got so much potential that even that level of self-awareness, imagine if we can get it to people before they go to jail.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and I know we can talk about that another time, but imagine, so, you know, the criminals, because how many did you just say there is? 6 million criminals that are...
Well, there's 84,500 is the prison population currently, but an estimated 6 million.
Estimated 6 million that are not actually, luckily, not going to jail, right? So they're the good ones. They're the professionals. Or not. So you know, you've got this high number of criminals. You know, if we can tap into that to make them realise, you know, that they don't even have to embark on that journey, and it's the people that have been in the jail then come out that can shine that light. Absolutely. Can't they? Yeah. Because you imagine if those people go into jail for whatever service, 10, 12, whatever the amount of time they're in there, 1 year, 2 years, any number, come out, potentially embark on Sam Kelly's amazing, reform, and go through that process, and then, you know, turn that to, you know, criminals and say, look, you know, I've been there, done it. I've got the T-shirt. You don't need to wear the T-shirt. Yeah. You can avoid it. You can bypass that.
That's right.
You know? Yeah.
Or at very least catch them earlier. I mean, at the moment we're just recycling criminals. Yeah. And so they're in for the majority length of their life. And, you know, hopefully they can present as role models to help people at an earlier stage. Yeah. So they're not caught in the system for the duration, you know? Yeah, no, definitely. But it's been great. And I do thank you for your support, Simon, and wish you all the best too. No problem, thank you. Okay, so this is Sam Kelly, and you will hopefully see more about her. And what I will do is I'll put a little write-up, and hopefully Sam is going to have a website. And a couple of, well, we don't know, whenever, a couple of months, you know, definitely this year. And in the meantime, you know, I will be following her path. So maybe we'll do another talk at the, May or June time. Sure. Okay? Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Thank you for watching. Take care.